All right, ladies and gentlemen, Fab's in the house. And today I've got the Boker Lancer here with me. As usual, we're going to analyze the look, the sound, and the feel of this guy. But first of all, let's just do a quick size comparison. This is up against the Chris Reeve Knives Small Sebenza 21. And this is up against the Spyderco Para 3. And then we have the Spyderco Tenacious right over here. And let's also do, PM2. Big boy, just to give you an idea of the size. So, overall, this is like it's a pretty good design by Sergei Panchenko. You know him because he designed the Spyderco dog tag, probably, and it's an original design which I like. It's, it has these nice square lines rounded off at the heel over here and just a little bit up top. So it's a nice square in the pocket, but rounded off. So it's ingenious, I would say. The close length is 4.2 inches, and this version here is has G10 scales with this like grippy finish over here, which I appreciate. It's not slippery at all. It's an overall inexpensive knife. This is going to be around $50 US, something in that ballpark, and it's a nice blade because it's a liner lock. You see, like you have titanium liners to reduce the weight, and G10 scales, which is going to be pretty light. There's no skeletonization going on because it's already light by itself. You don't have like finger grooves, just like a straight slab over here, and there's a little bit of chamfering going on around the edges, like all around, but not really internal chamfering. There's no jimping going on the blade or on the side, so it's pretty plain. The construction also is quite simple because there's a pivot here and just two stands off right over here, so very, very simple to disassemble. There's a lanyard hole right here, so it's going to be pretty useful if you're a lanyard guy. And the lock release relief, it's pretty big. It's a pretty big cutout. The only thing is that this is built in a way so that in order to disengage the lock, you have to push this the lock bar, the liner lock, like all the way down here, right? In order to have the blade to slide back in the closed position. But if you are like doing like this, all right, so you're not pushing all the way down, the blade doesn't close. So you have just to maybe jam your thumb right up there and make sure that this is all the way down in order to be able to close the knife. So this is a little bit of a design issue, I think. I mean, not a big deal. You can just, if you know that you have to push this down to the end in order to be able to close the blade. So something to consider. There's no lock face insert. In fact, there's going to be a little bit of lock stick, even if it's titanium. It's titanium on steel. You see, you're going to have just a tiny bit of lock stick, which you can hear. Overall, I was saying, the construction is pretty simple. T8 and T6 Torx bit screws to take apart this guy, and it's going to be pretty straightforward to disassemble, to maintain, lube it up, and clean it up if you need it. The hardware is not protruding; it's not proprietary. The pivot is spinning, so it's not captive. So just keep that in mind. Something that I actually appreciate is the titanium pocket clip, because even if it's a very simple design, I like that it's titanium, that it's finished with the same finish as of the blade, some acid wash and stone wash. So it's interesting. It has a nice spring retention, and if is tip up only, it's not reversible. You cannot mount it on the other side, so it's not going to be really ambidextrous overall, this blade. Visually, the the blade it's nice. I mean, I like it. It's a 3-inch long blade. The material is 440C. The first 500 samples of this guy were done in S35EN, but I believe it was done through a lottery, something like that. So the subsequent numbers are using 440C. Which is all right. I mean, it's not the best steel in the world, but for the price, you can't pretend the moon. It's a pretty cool drop point, actually. The stock thickness is relatively on the thick side, and the tip is going to be kind of thick. It's just a flat grind over here. You have overall, actually, I have to say, some pretty good grind symmetry, and also the edge symmetry is a little bit wider here, and just you see it thins down a little bit to the point. The edge profile is plain, and there's a nice belly going on here. It's almost symmetric, like a spear point, but and then you have like a straight and plain edge up to the sharpening choil, which actually shows that this blade is not like the thinnest behind the edge, but it's still relatively good. There's no finger choil going on. You only have, a nice, very subtle plunge grind with an arch, and like this nice radius, I would say, which ends into the thumb hole, which is not really chamfered, but also it's not sharp. There's no jimping going on up here, just like plain up to here, where there's just this nice hint of a swedge going on up to the tip right there. Something I'm not a fan of is, the billboarding going on. You have the logo here, you have the serial number, you have the steel, and you have the designer name, laser etched, I think, on the blade. So it's a little bit too crowded. The overall length is 7 inches, so it's a right, pretty EDCable size. Let's check out the sound this guy makes, because it's quite listenable, actually. You see, it's like a piercing sound, like a little, it's a nice clank overall. It's not the best sounding knife in the world, but it's not like an ugly sound or unpleasant. When you close the knife, actually, it's like pretty quiet. See, it's very discreet and very unobtrusive. So I appreciate this one. Something that I'm really not a fan of is the sound when you disengage the lock, which is going to reveal a little bit of lock stick. You hear? There's a little bit. It's not, you don't have to push like too hard, but it's there. So that can be a little bit annoying. On the filling department, this is weighing in at 2.4 ounces, so very, very light. There's not really any hot spots going on except for a little bit this point, but being, G10 and rounded off, it's not going to be like digging in too much in the flesh of your hand. You don't have jimping going on, but the texture of the handle is going to give you enough grip when you're gonna squeeze the handle, so it's not gonna go anywhere. You can't really choke up because there's no finger choil, so you're gonna have to stay somewhere like this. But overall, I have to say this knife feels solid. It doesn't flex, like this, because the standoff here, it's relatively close to the pivot, so there's not enough distance in order to be able to flex, to bend. So it feels all right. I mean, for the price, I can't really complain. Fit and finish overall, it's okay. I mean, it's not perfect. There's this issue here on the you have to push down the lock like all the way in order to be able to close the knife, but beside that I don't see anything wrong. Something that I'm not a fan of is that the blade, like the spine of the blade, it's not parallel to the handle. It looks like they missed something, like they could have moved this pin a little bit further down in order to make the blade just be not flush but even parallel to this side of the handle. So just my 2 cents over here. There's actually no blade play. It feels quite solid, and even the clip, it's, you know, the angle of the clip ramp is quite acute, but I like it. You know, even if I'm not a fan of this, you know, bent slab, it's actually not too bad. So I appreciate this one in this case. Also, like something that I am a fan of is the versatility of this one, because actually you can open this one, of course, like with two hands. You can use the thumb hole and just, you know, do like this, or you can actually do like a front flip using this ridge, like here, like that. So even if there's no jimping going on, in order for you to have enough grip, so because sometimes you can do that, or like this, but if you do like that, it works. So it's interesting. It's not the fastest, you know, of them all, but it's versatile. So you're not gonna have finger sore because the thumb hole is quite big, even if it's not chamfered. Overall, it feels quite smooth, I have to say, because this is running on Teflon washers. I'm not a fan of, but it's overall smooth. You know, I opened it up, cleaned it, lubed it, and it's quite pleasant. I mean, it's not Sebenza smooth, of course, but it's all right. Also, you know, the detent strength is a little bit on the light side, I would say, but you know, it's nothing dangerous. Not going to be able to shake it open. If you shake it, yeah, there's no rattling going on. You're not going to be able to touch the tip, so it's quite safe. Also, like the feeling when you close it, it's you know, as I said, you know, the lock release, it's maybe, you know, the biggest flaw of this knife. You need to just squish this all the way down, and there's a little bit of lock stick right over here, but nothing too crazy. There's no detent ball ramp going on, but you don't feel much, you know, the hard step, just a little bit like that. The closing action, of course, there's just, you know, it just free falls a little bit, and then there's the no detent ball ramp, so the blade just stops, and there's no guillotine effect. You just have to take the blade back into the closed position. So overall, you know, this is a relatively inexpensive knife. It's looking good. You know, materials employed are all right, and you know, fit and finish is okay. It's overall not a bad knife. So yeah, so there you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.